Nothing is better than being wrong about how high can a stock run. Gevo ran 17%, which is way higher than what I expected, and trust me, it feels so good to be wrong. Welcome back to another Gevo Inc. technical analysis update. This is Dr. B on Webull, and I will be talking about the move that Gevo did today and what we expect to see tomorrow from the technical point of view. Keep in mind that tomorrow we may have a significant fundamental change with potential catalyst, as Dr. Patrick Gruber is participating in the Water Tower Research Fireside chat series at 3 p.m. Fundamental catalysts cause transient periods during which the price action is actually breaking structure and moving from one channel to another. Technicals will be very hard to predict at this point, but as usual, we will try to stay on top of it and get Gevo technically analyzed. I don't like to speculate and read too much into the timing being during the power hour, since it creates an emotional roller coaster. I'm sure you can relate. Nevertheless, let us hear in the comments below what do you think and what do you expect for tomorrow's meeting. Alright, so enough fundamentals, let's talk technicals. The weekly chart looks good, but today was the first trading day of the week, so this candle will most likely change and will look completely different by the end of the week. However, if by the end of the week, the high of this week's candle stays above the 50% of this red candle, which is around the 1.99, in this case, we got ourselves a bullish morning doji star pattern, which means we are moving higher and higher in the next couple of weeks. Another thing we can see is that all of the EMAs are aligned and they are pointing up. And also we will notice that lately the 9 EMA crossed the 50 EMA, which is a golden cross. Also now it's the turn of the 13 EMA. So this here, by crossing the 50 EMA, it actually tells us that this bullish trend is very strong, that is bringing the prices up. If we check the RSI indicator, we will notice here that it's cooling down, or it cooled down over the last couple of weeks, and now it's heating up again and heading towards being overbought. Also, we are trading away from the super trend, as we can see here, which is good. The further we can go from the super trend, the better. This means that we have a more bullish trend. Another indicator that I didn't talk about before is the directional movement index, or the DMI. On Webull, the average directional movement index, or the ADX, is also added to the DMI indicator. So for the DMI indicator, we will find here that we have 3 curves. We can create a video about these indicators later on to explain the details, but for now, we should like what we are seeing. The blue line is the buying pressure and the yellow line is the selling pressure. As we can see here, the buying pressure is way higher than the selling pressure, which indicates that we have a strong uptrend. The strength of the uptrend can also be expressed using the ADX. So if we have an ADX that is higher than 25, this means we have a strong momentum. The trend is actually strong. And in this case, we actually have an ADX that is at 40. So the bottom line is that we are seeing a more buying pressure with higher momentum, which is very good for us. All right, so now let's add our spaghetti of drawings and let's see how things are looking. We still have our uptrend channel, and we can see also the Fibonacci levels that we have plotted before. Over the last 2 weeks, we were fighting to stay above the 50% retracement level of the Fibonacci, and we are also fighting to stay above the median line of the upward channel, which we did. Today, the first day of the new week, we opened below the 38.2% of the Fibonacci level. We push down, but we reject the median line of the channel and the 185, which now serves as support. And we held and we closed way above the 38.2, which is awesome. Today's high was the inner resistance trend line of the channel, as we can see here. Let's have a look at the daily. It turned out that the channel that we have drawn last week is holding perfectly and is actually valid. Today, we moved from the inner support line all the way above the outer resistance, and then we closed just below the outer resistance, as we can see here. If you check earlier videos, I didn't modify this channel. So see how beautiful that is. It's closing right below the channel's trend line. That's fantastic. Now, the fact that it went above the outer resistance trend line means it's trying to break out of that channel and will soon do that. However, before we break this channel, we will need to go back a little bit down before we can get enough power and bounce off a support line to go back and break this channel, which is most likely to be this trend line, or maybe that one which coincides perfectly with the 38.2 Fibonacci level. Now, that is not guaranteed. It could be that level, it could be even higher, but that is for sure we are going to drop a little bit before we go back up. Now, I know that nobody wants to hear that we are going to drop a little bit, but to validate my point, let's have a look at the indicators at the smaller time frames. We will go to the 4-hour chart, and we will see here that the RSI is already in the overbought region, indicating that it's very possible that we will need to sell so we can cool off a little bit. Now, one thing here is that it could continue to push further and stay above the overbought level. That's perfectly fine, but that is an indication that maybe on the short term we will need to go down a little bit and then push further. If we check the Bollinger Band, which I haven't talked before about, I know, but you will notice here that usually the trend is that you stay within the Bollinger Band, maybe overshoot, but then go back down. All right. So we have been extending the Bollinger Band, the upper band of the Bollinger Band for a while now, and that means here we are even above, which means that there is a strong rejection that's gonna happen and maybe drop a little bit. The DMI is also showing that we have, let's close the RSI. The DMI, we can see here that the ADX is at 20, which is less than 25, which means that it's slow or low momentum. And that low momentum is actually coinciding with the fact that we are cooling off here with lower buying power. All right, so this means it can a little bit do some contraction and then like this one here, and then maybe expand again, and that would be over the next 4 hours because we are in the 4 hour. So this means, like, for example, in the pre-market or early morning, and then it starts to run again. So don't worry about it, don't panic, but just to expect it that if we start to go down, this doesn't mean that we lost momentum completely, but it means that we are just adjusting and we are getting ready for another run. Now, if we look at the 1 hour chart, we will see more confirmation of this expected drop. We can see that we are detaching from the upper band of the Bollinger Band. See here, we are dropping from it. All right, so let me remove the EMA. So this is the Bollinger Band, which are 3 bands, upper, medium, and or the bases, and then the lower band. And we will see that we are dropping already from the higher band. It's very possible we don't have to drop all the way down, but as you can see here, you drop and then go back and push. So that's very possible that we will drop and then go back and push. Another thing is that we have an overbought RSI. If we open the RSI here, we will notice here that the RSI is overbought. At the 1 hour level, as we said, fluctuation here is more frequent. So you will notice that we can actually, over the next 3, 4, 5 hours, we can drop, and then go back up. All right, it's not as slow as the daily and the weekly. So that means that maybe we can go down a little bit and then go back up. So all of this is confirming my expectation that we are going to drop a little bit before we start the expected run. Another thing is that the MACD is wearing off, but also, you know, my idea about the MACD, it's not as important indicator for me because we can sense it from the EMAs, which we already use heavily, right? So for example, if I open the EMAs here, you will notice that the EMAs are starting to lose that slope. This is high slope, flatten, a little bit higher, but it's not as high as this one. So this means it's trying to cool down and maybe will curve a little bit down. All right, drop and then go back up, which is basically the pattern that you can see here. You see, it goes up, it's like a wave. right? So this is the expected one. So now we seem to be at a peak, and then we can drop down a little bit, and then we go back up. All right, so no, that's for the EMAs. So now, as we can see here, so we are expecting a drop. That drop could be to the 2.04 level, which is here, and that would be the 13 EMA, right? Unless the 13 EMA drops, so this could be either the 5 or the 9, right? So if these all of them drop, one of them will be aligned with this level here. Another thing is that it could be that level here, which is the Fibonacci level of the 38.2, which is coinciding with the center line of the upward channel. But then this is less likely because we are diverging from that. We are having higher support here than this level. So it's very possible it will not go all the way down. It could go down briefly and then go back up. That's also a possibility. Another thing that is suggesting that this could be the level is that we are seeing here that this is the high. So whatever was a resistance before could be a support now. So that could be our support, and if it holds, this means it's a very strong support and we will bounce back up. So these are the two levels I'm looking for. All right, the two, the inner resistance of the channel and the median line of the channel. All right, so again, this kind of pullback is healthy. We need it to maintain that push upward. I know people want to hear me saying we are flying, which over the course of the day will likely to happen. And if we have a good catalyst, this will break all of these structures and really fly. But remember, this drop I'm talking about is at the scale of 1, 2, or even 4 hours, which we have plenty of tomorrow. Pre-market and early morning before the power hour. So all of this can take few hours and then we will be back on our way to new highs. So if we go higher, and this is what we are expecting, you must be asking now, but how high can Gevo go, Dr. B? To answer this question, I will tell you a short story. So when I tell you how high Gevo can go, you can believe me. So let's clear this. Let's remove all of these indicators that we don't need. And let's go back to the first spike of Gevo in August. All right, so I will go all the way back to this spike here. And let's go to the daily. We don't need that very high resolution. And then what I'm going to do here is that instead of drawing what we call the Fibonacci retracement, a retracement which tells you how far it can drop before it can go back up, right? So these are the levels where you are seeing how far it can drop. There is something called the Fibonacci extension, which is the opposite. It tells you how far it can go high. So in this case here, let's say I was trading and then I found this spike and then it dropped, and at a certain point I found that this here is going back up, and this seems to be the low or the swing low of this period of time. So in this case, could I expect how far Gevo is going to run? And the answer is yes. You could actually start from here, go all the way up here, go down to this swing low, and then you will have your levels. Now, to not to get distracted, let's remove this one or make it hidden to some extent. And let's have a look at this one here. All right. Now, see this, and I'm going to make it a little bit heavy so we can distinguish it. All right, so look at this. It drops. This was the first level, the 23.6%. It was a very strong resistance. Another time it became a resistance, right? Or it stayed as a resistance. It goes up. This is the next resistance. Here it became support all the way up to the 78.6%, another resistance. Go all the way, shoots up here to 287. And then you would think like it's going to fly. But then if you had these extension levels, you would know that it could drop all the way down to the 100%, which was 249. And this is exactly what happened. All right. So the retracement here, it's working perfectly. It's showing us how far it could go up after having a rally and then drop again with a swing low. So let's apply the same thing here on what we are having. And this will probably tell us or give us some sense of how far Gevo can go in the next run. So if we adjust this to be that swing high, and then assuming, and this is an assumption for now, that this was our swing low. So I leave it here and then I look. Now see how beautiful that is. That was the run today, right? It ran all the way to 2.169. It got rejected and it went back down. All right, so this means that probably we can go down a little bit, get some momentum, right? Bounce back off a good support, and then go back and try and retest that level again. Now, a catalyst can boost this, can make it go through it really quick. Now, the thing is how far it can go. Let's see. The first level we are looking at is 2.52, 2.85, or 2.805. Next, 3.08. Next, 3.49. Next, the 100% level would be 4.0. So over the next, I don't know how long it would take to go there. All right, it took us a couple of months to go from here to here. Maybe that was, but notice here that this was after the impact of the offering. All right, so that maybe had some kind of a psychological impact that didn't allow it to recover quickly. But now we are in good shape. So that drop here could actually bounce back up quicker than this this bounce. All right, so the future looks promising, but to get there or to get to these high levels, we will have to go through ups and downs, sell-offs and scalpers and all kind of things. So be patient and hold strong if you are long, and we will get there eventually. All right, so that's it for Gevo. Before we go, if you feel that the videos in this channel started to help you become a calmer trader and or investor, please help spread this calmness by going crazy hitting the like and the subscribe buttons. Thank you for watching and happy gains.